Hello all and welcome back to Riverbank Railways. First of all, apologies for the long delay with this video. It was a crazy start to the year with work and storms and everything going on here in Ireland. And every time I got to do a video, I was kind of like, I'll just do another little bit and I'll share it in the video and I'll just do another little bit. And then, another week had passed. So it won't be as long next time. So apologies for that. I know some people wait for these videos and I appreciate that. And also I got in a groove with the woodworking and just kept going because I was flying through it. So that a little bit of blame. So as you can see, I'm going to share a quick update of everything that's done. And as I did in previous videos, if that's all you want to hear, great. And then you can sign off and then I will just share some tips and tricks that I learned along the way, some tools that were invaluable for others who might be about to do this or thinking of doing it or in the middle of it. And just everything I've learned from it, I'll share. So it might save some other people some of the mistakes I made and some time as well, so along the way. So as you can see, the upper level supports are now just about all in place. There's a few pieces of wood left to do. So I went along all the upper level here, and because trains need to run under as well, they're not vertical supports, they're bolted into the wall, or screwed into the wall actually, and just simple T-shaped pieces of wood, like here's one left over, just that, just perfectly square and screwed into the wall. And you can see underneath I have some of these wedge shaped, something like that, and they're just screwed in underneath some of them, and that is actually quite handy. It allows you to just adjust if something is leaning down just a fraction of the degree, you can just screw that in and it'll hold it right in place and even push it up a little bit if needed. So that goes all the way around and then comes out from the wall. So when it comes out to the wall, then we need vertical supports, and you can see them here. And you kind of have two options with the vertical supports. One, you can put them on top of your horizontals already, or you can screw them down into the sides, which I've gone for. If you put them on top, when you're doing slopes and everything, that means that the height, the exact cut that you make on the wood has to be perfect to get the right slope. And if it's not, then your piece of wood is useless, you need to get another one. Whereas if you screw them into the side, the piece of wood is a bit longer, but it just means you have that little bit of leeway so that when you clamp them in, you can adjust the position, the height of them, before you make your final screw them in, and it just gives you a bit more flexibility and a bit more to work with there. So that's the way I've gone. And you can see this top level comes all the way around to the massive junction that we have here, and I know that looks complicated, and it was. So I had one of them done in the last video. This kind of tongue and groove with the router has worked out really well. So when the gate closes, all of these just slot right back into place and there's no movement whatsoever. In these, they're perfectly aligned, so I'm very happy with that. And you can see they're not perfectly square because I've sanded off the edges so that when they're sliding back in, they're not getting caught. They slip into place and then they lock in, and it's perfect. And then the other side of it, the dowels method has worked out really well again. So you can see more of them now that I've put in there. But for example, this one here is the biggest kind of gap when it's open, because this piece of wood, I didn't realize it's slightly warped. So that there's a bit of a vertical difference there, you can see. But when you put your dowel in place and you shove it right in, and now you see it perfectly aligned to where it was supposed to be at the start, and there's no kind of wobble or anything like that in it. So that dowel method has worked really well for my situation, maybe not everyone's. Actually, I'll just show you opening the gate. So if you pull the gate open, there's all the pieces that have come apart. And then we'll just close it back up. It's nice and tight. There's a little bit too tight, but we had a massive storm. There we go, locked in. We had a massive storm here in Ireland. I've noticed that everything has moved 1 millimeter. So it must have moved the cabin or something, but it's working out. And beyond that, then you can see all the different levels that are going up and down. This is the first big piece of wood on supports for the depot area. There'll be another one to go in there and another one up there, and then that's done. I have one more join from the station area up to the upper level, and it's only a 4 centimeter difference, so it'll be very gradual. But that's the last connection, and once that's done, that's all the baseboard kind of work done. And if you look down underneath, that big piece of wood is supported vertically. I had forgotten that when the piece of wood is quite big, it has a lot of strength and a lot of lateral strength, so it doesn't need as much support as the smaller pieces of wood do, which is good. There are some places where there was a big gap between vertical supports, so I've put in another horizontal. But overall, it worked out really well, and there's plenty of space underneath. So that's cool. And then if you look, you can have an idea of the different levels. So you can see here in the back, there's one going down from the station area down to the lower level, and then there's one coming up from the lower level all the way up to the upper level. Station area is coming down here. The upper level is flat at the top here, but it also has another slope down all along the back to the lower level, so that there's a slope in both directions, so the trains can be run in either direction and get to any level. And that was the plan. So that last bit left to do, and then we're basically done. And when that's done, I'll lay out the track, and once it's all perfectly in position, I will outline the track, probably about 2 centimeters out from the track, draw along all the pieces of wood, and then cut out the actual shape that I need, like I did with the lower level. And that'll remove a lot of wood from the top as well that's not needed. So we're getting there. That's it for the update. Hopefully the next update, what I plan to do, the last little connection here, and hopefully we'll have those last 2 big pieces in place for the next video. So now, if you want to stay on, I'm going to share some tips and tricks and little tools that helped along the way. One of them, this fella here, get one of these. It's like a square ruler thing, I don't know the exact name. Invaluable, because you just put it up against your block of wood and then you have a straight line across it with class. This was here, extended drill bit, very useful for getting in and drilling in tight spaces. What else? This thing was brilliant. It's like an adjustable right angle square and has a digital readout. And what it's very useful for is when you're doing these vertical supports on a slope, the top of the support needs to match the angle of the slope. So if the slope is 1.7 degrees, if your top of the block there was 90 degrees, only one side of the block will touch the baseboard. And then if you screw in the baseboard, it'll warp it just slightly and it'll throw it off. So you need to cut 1.7 degrees or 88.3 degrees, so 1.7 off 90, 88.3 degrees of an angle on that top support. So when you take your miter saw, which has an adjustable vertical, and then you set this guy, so you put it down flat, press 0, and then bring it up to 88.3 degrees, and then this corner piece locks it in place. And then what you can do is loosen up your miter saw, put that against the blade until it matches perfectly, and then your blade's at 88.3 degrees. You lock it in place, and then it keeps cutting them over and over and over again. And it's just absolutely fantastic. Another thing that was really useful, 2 little levels. One, get a small one so that you can get in tight spaces and just see, are you vertical, are you not vertical, or put them, you can put it across and see if it's level. That was cool. This one was just invaluable. It is a spirit level, but it has a digital readout. So when you're trying to get everything at 1.7 or 1.6 degrees or whatever, you get your baseboard down and you can see, okay, are we at 1.6 or 1.7? And then you can make any adjustments you need. And when it's perfect, then that's when you lock everything and clamp it in place and screw it in. So that was just, it was, I don't know how much it was, but it wasn't too expensive, but it was well worth the investment. And this, oh, buy lots of drill bits. I thought once you have your drill bits, you're sorted for life, but no. Newbie mistake. This is a 3mm drill bit. That's the holes I've been drilling, and I've gone through about 8 or 9 of them in the last 3 months, just because they take all the tension and stuff and they snap. Definitely get some of these if you can. So instead of having to drill a hole, change the bit, and then bevel it, so the screws sit down in it, you can do it all in one with these. And I think about £3 or something. Again, these, if you put too much angle on them, these will snap, but they're a huge time saver. So you just drill the hole and the bevel at the same time, and it's class. Get lots of clamps, because I pick a set up every time I go in. They're only about 12 quid, and you can clamp everything in place and get it all perfect before you ever put a screw in, and that saves you a lot of time as well. What else have I learned along the way? Yeah, just be prepared. Try and get it as exact as possible, but if it's a tiny bit off, don't worry. Like I can see now in that top level, there is a slight change in elevation on the top, even though it's supposed to be perfectly flat. And here, once I got around to this point and I got around to this point, I realized there was a couple of, like a ½ centimeter in difference when it should have been level because of the floor or whatever. But don't fret about it, because if you look down any railway, some like long straight piece of railway that's supposed to be flat, they're never flat. There's always up and down and undulations, and some of them are just shocking. So I'm just going to go with it and just let there be a gradual up or down or something like that, and I think it'll look quite natural rather than perfectly flat all the time. And the locals don't even notice it. So let's see how that goes. So that's where we are. Definitely get some, if you're outside or whatever, get some electric radiators if you can. I have these into smart plugs, so I can, you know, a half an hour before I come out to the cabin here, I just turn them on, and then it's nice and toasty when I come in. And there we go, that's it. Thank you very much everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you picked up some tips and tricks, and I will see you next month. Bye bye.